Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. We have another Warhammer 40k battle report for you today. We're doing 2,000 points, and we are playing one of these missions out of the standard rulebook. We're playing the Scouring with Hammer and Anvil deployment. Tyranids versus Death Guard. The Tyranids will be on this side of the table. Death Guard will be over here. We do have these 6 objectives set up. We are waiting to determine which is inferior and which is superior. We have one here, third on the rocks, a 4th under the stanchions there, the 5th here, and the 6th on the Firestorm redoubt. We will be right back with the armies. First up, we have the forces of the Death Guard. They are arranged today in a battalion detachment. They're being led by a Demon Prince. He has the suppurating plate, and for his psychic powers, he is going to take putrescent vitality, and he has smite, of course. He has a demonic axe and malefic talons. Joining him in the HQ slot, we have a malignant plague caster. He has Curse of the Leper and Blades of Putrefaction. Moving over into the elites, we have our newly added Plague Surgeon. He is going to be carrying Fugaris' helm today, so we're going to pay a point for that extra relic. We then have 4 squads of Plague Marines. They're 7-man strong each. 2 of them have 2 blight launchers. One of them has 2 plasma guns, and one has 2 plasma guns plus a champion with a plasma gun and a power fist. Back into the elite slot, we have a Hellbrute with a Hellbrute fist, heavy flamer, and twin las cannons. Then we have 2 fetid bloat drones with dual plague spitters and plague probe. And to finish things up, we have the Mephitic Blight Haulers, and then we have 2 Rhinos with Storm Bolters. That is the Death Guard part of this battlefield. The Tyranids are coming up next. Alright, next up we have the Tyranids. Josh is going to be manning them again today, trying to consume the Servants of Plague. Josh, tell us what you got.
Okay, so I have 2 formations. The first one is a battalion, and the 2 HQs, I have a Neurathrope and a Broodlord leading it. Then I have 2 squads of 4 Zoanthropes, a squad of 3 Venomthropes, 2 squads of 10 Genestealers, a squad of 30 Devil Gaunts, and 2 squads of 20 Hornogaunts. Then for my second formation, I am using a Spearhead detachment with Hive Tyrant, who is the Warlord, and he has
Death Spitters.
Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots, and 2 Carnifexes with Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots, and a Trigon to round out the list.
Alright, so you have seen the armies and you have seen the table. We will be back as the scouring begins and we get stuck into the Maelstrom. Deployment is complete. With that finished, we went ahead and rolled for the superior and inferior objectives. So, of course, in the scouring, objectives are worth 2 points. The superior objective is worth 4, and the inferior objective is worth 1. The 4 is here at the base of the Prometheum set, and the 1 is here in the rock pile. Josh, you want to walk us down this Tyranid setup?
So, with this Kraken swarm, it's all about speed. We put the little guys up front. One of our Carnifexes on either extreme end of the army, and the Zoanthropes kind of lined up behind cover to limit as much of the incoming heavy weapon shots as we can for as long as we can. Venomthropes are shielding everyone with their spores, and the Neurathrope and the Broodlord are ensconced in the middle of the force. And in Deep Strike we have the Trigon with the 30 Devil Gaunts and the Hive Tyrant.
Alright, over here on the Death Guard side, everything is committed. We have the Rhinos on the front line along with the Mephitic Blight Haulers. The Marine squads are behind them. The Plasma Gun squads are between them and the bunker. And then on either flank we have a Blight Launcher squad set up. The Demon Engines and the Demon Prince are up top. And the 2 leaders, the Plague Surgeon and the Malignant Plague Caster, are down here in the midst of the swarm of Plague Marines. Then on this flank we have the Hellbrute. Alright, so that is initial setup. The Death Guard finished first and are going first, unless the Tyranids can squill the initiative away from us here. A 1. About as far away from it as possible. Alright, Death Guard first turn, coming up. First turn for the Death Guard was a pretty swift one. We just hung out in our deployment zone for this initial turn rather than open ourselves up to additional charges. We just went ahead and hung out here. We fired the Hellbrute and the Mephitic Blight Haulers. down the field at the venom throats, hit with every single shot, and vaporized all 3 of them. So pretty good ballistics there. We had to establish dominance really quickly on who was toxic and who was not. However, I'm sure some of these other bugs are going to have something to say about the death of their friends. So, Death Guard turn 1 is in the books. They have scored first blood, so it is 1-0 in favor of the Death Guard at the moment. Tyranid response coming up next. Alright, bugs, turn 1.
So we made a general advance, pushed the majority of our assault element into cover because we didn't have range to make the charges without his advance forward, and we might as well get what meager benefit we can from the incoming bolter fire before he slams back against us in a counter charge. In the psychic phase, we cast the horror on the rhino in the corner for lack of any other target. We might as well make one weapon less effective. And we cast Catalyst on the lone Carnifex standing out here on the objective by himself. The Carnifex is then paired off and shot at either one of the rhinos, and between the 2 of them, at the 2 rhinos, we managed to knock 1 wound out of 1. We got 10 hits off of that guy, and then managed to wound the rhino only twice.
Yeah, not super impressive there, but nothing in assault range yet. Death Guard turn 2 coming up. Let's see what we can do. The Death Guard have advanced for the Dark Gods, and their shooting phase was murderous. We made a general advance first. We sent up the Dreadnought and 2 of the squads to this direction, along with the Plague Surgeon. The bulk of the Plague Marines swung this way to deal with those Gene Stealers and Hormagaunts on the far side. The Prince jumped up to help them out, along with the 2 drones. And 1 Rhino swung up to either flank to catch any smites that might come through and to lock up any survivors, try to get another casualty or so through. Started out in the psychic phase. We rolled 11 on both of our smites. 1 killed 5 gaunts over here. The one from the Prince did luckily roll poorly. It rolled 1 and killed 1 of the gaunts here. But then Curse of the Leper killed 6 more, so 7 gaunts went down. Or 11. 11 gaunts went down from the Plague Caster in here. Then, as you can see, the shooting phase just demolished the infantry there. All but 1 Gene Stealer was cut down. All 20 Hormagaunts cut up. And over here, all but 2 Hormagaunts cut up. The big majority of that came from this 1 bloat drone who rolled an 11 with his attacks and was able to frag 11 gaunts. So brutal, brutal shooting there. The Blight Haulers were also able to fire their bile spurts and everything up here. Bile spurts and frag grenades did not do a whole lot. Killed a handful of Gene Stealers. But their multi-meltas and the las cannons from the Hellbrute cut the Carnifex down on that flank. So insanely devastating shooting phase there. We're going to try to put the Rhinos into combat. We will be back once that's complete. Alright, Death Guard have finished the assault phase, and I have been taught a lesson for being a bully. This Rhino charged in, crushed 1 of the Hormagaunts. The other wounded me, but I made the armor save. Down here, however, I charged the Gene Stealer. The Broodlord had had enough of watching his kids get smashed. I was not capable of hurting him because of the horror. I was just trying to get him stuck out there to try to draw a little bit more smite. The Broodlord promptly rolled 3 6s, cut through my armor, peeled whatever lives inside that thing out, and destroyed it. So that Rhino was mashed in my own assault phase. That is the end of Death Guard turn 2. Tyranid response coming up. Tyranids have finished up turn 2 to the assault phase.
Alright, so in the movement phase, we took an opportunistic advance on the Gene Stealers in the middle, moved them an extra 10 inches to try to get into combat with some of the stuff that just crushed our initial front rank. We moved up everything as tightly as we could and took every advantage that we could set up for our psychic phase, considering we managed to knock out a Rhino in his turn, and it was a very lackluster psychic phase. We managed to get Catalyst off on the Broodlord and a couple of smites off for a grand total of 4 wounds on 1 Blight drone. Everything else failed or was stopped.
Yep.
Kind of a crummy psychic phase, but whatever. Shooting phase wasn't too bad. We brought in the 30 Devil Gaunts and the Trigon, and between those 2 units and the Carnifex, and we had to fire the Devil Gaunts twice, we managed to burn out the Hellbrute. He did not blow up, but he is out of the way and not going to step up there and crush my Carnifex for me next turn. So, small wins, we'll take what we can get and just keep edging into this block of Ironheart infantry here.
Alright, assault phase coming up next. Tyranid assault phase ends. Josh, tell us about it.
Yeah, well, we made a couple of double clutches. I didn't trust the Devil Gaunts enough, so I moved the Gene Stealers towards the center of his army in my movement phase because I wasn't expecting the Hellbrute to actually go down. And then when they cut the Hellbrute down in the shooting phase, I decided I'd make the jump and charge the Plague Surgeon because I still had all 10 Gene Stealers, and one lone enterprising Hormigaunt had managed to tag the Plague Surgeon and lock him up so he couldn't overwatch me. So I threw the 10 Gene Stealers into the Plague Surgeon thinking, surely 40 attacks will be enough to drag this guy down. 42 attacks later, he's got 1 wound left.
Yeah, and an implant attack. Don't forget the implant attack. And the Hormigaunt had to do part of that. The Gene Stealers actually only did him 2 wounds. They got 5 through his armor. I made 3 of the Feel No Pains. One of them was thanks to his rerolls of 1. And then he also Feel No Pained the implant attack. So rough work there. The Hormigaunt finally punched 1 more wound out to help him out there, but he is still here.
And then the Broodlord charged one of the Blight Launcher squads on the other side and kind of didn't do very much.
Chopped down 2, I think.
I think he knocked down 2 guys total.
Yep.
The Carnifex charged the Rhino that was in front of him down here and knocked another wound out of it. And he got a mortal wound through on his living battering ram roar.
Yep. All right, and then in return swings, the Bell Sword from the Plague Surgeon beheaded the Hormigaunt that was attached to his heel, and then was able to kill a couple of Gene Stealers. The Demon Prince had heroically intervened. He squashed the others that are dead there right now. We also were able to kill the lone Gene Stealer. He tried to lock this squad up so the Broodlord would not eat Overwatch. I played a Blight Bombardment, dropped 7 Blight Grenades on him and blew him up. So that is it, right? That's the end of the assault phase. All right. Death Guard are coming up next. Death Guard have finished their turn up to the assault phase. We started out by falling back with the Plague Surgeon. We did not want to risk getting chopped up there. The Demon Prince then cast Smite. He was able to kill the ones that were within 1 inch of him, which led to he failed his. It was the Plague Caster that got him out of hot water. The Plague Caster moved up and cast Smite, was able to get it through the Shadow and the Wart and crush the ones that were within 1 inch. After those were gone, it was short order for the last 1 or 2 there to be cut down by the bloat drone here. Over here in combat, we were able to shoot and do 1 wound to the Broodlord. However, he made Catalyst and was fine there. We fired these guys across the Zoanthropes and were able to do 2 wounds with a multi-melter that got through. Rolled 2 2s for the damage. And then we did 1 wound with the Bile Spurt. Down here, we fired the Plague Drone and the squad of Marines into the Gaunts. We used Vets of the Long War with their bolters, cut down a swath of the Gaunts between them and the other squads in the backfield. And then their Blight Launchers and Overcharged Plasma were able to bring the Trigon Prime down to 3 wounds. He did take 1 wound from there from a missile launcher, but he was able to make the armor save, so he is still with us. That is it for the shooting phase. We got a couple of charges, and then we will be back. Death Guard assault phase rolls to an end. Nothing went right that turn. Luckily, we've had some good turns going into this one because that was crazy. Demon Prince charged the Broodlord, did 4 wounds with 3 damage weapons. He rolled 4 5+ invulnerables and then ripped 5 wounds out of my Prince. So did not go to plan at all there. Broodlord still has not taken any damage. Over here, we tried to charge this drone into the Carnifex and failed. The Carnifex and the Rhino continued their gong show, although I did lose another wound. This drone was unable to make his charge. The Marines made theirs, took Veterans of the Long War, and boloed miserably. Did like 5 6 wounds, did 1 damage to him, and then him hitting on 5s crushed 2 Marines back. So pretty average there as far as the damage he did. He did luckily roll pretty bad on his wounds because he hit me 4 or 5 times with that. Over here, we already went over the Broodlord. Then we charged in here and did nothing to the Zoanthropes. I think we chewed 1 wound out of one that still had 2 wounds left. So terrible close combat. But Tyranids are still in the fight for the moment. They're coming back with their turn next, and we will see you after that. right, the Tyranids have reached a point where everything's kind of locked up in combat. Josh, tell us what was going on.
Psychic phase was not very impressive. We managed to knock 4 wounds out of a Mephitic Blight Hauler, but only because we rolled a 12 and blew one of our own Zoanthropes up.
True.
Everything else pretty much boloed its psychic powers out. We did manage to get Catalyst off on the Broodlord, so maybe in the coming turn he won't die to all the plasma that's going to hit him in the face.
And why's plasma going to hit him, Josh?
Because he has royally pissed off the Legionnaires in front of him. Because for the second round of combat, he grabbed the Demon Prince, ripped him into 2 pieces, and pitched him back out across the crowd. Yeah. Holy crap! He killed the Demon Prince against all the odds that should have been.
It is what it is. Nurgle accepts his fate stoically. What happened down here?
The Trigon lost a wound, didn't do anything, but the Gaunts came up big and managed to trample one of the Plague Marines underneath their tiny little hooves.
Downed a Plague Marine. The shame. Alright, that is it for Tyranids turn 3. We're going into the top of 4 with the Death Guard coming up next. Alright, the Death Guard turn is finished up, and the Tyranid's going to go ahead and call it there. We fell back with these Marines. We moved the drone over. He was able to finish off the survivors from the Gaunt squad. The rest of the Gaunts went down to bolter fire from here. The plasma guns also fired across and cut the last wound out of the Trigon. He died with death throws. He did 1 mortal wound to the drone, but it was able to stop that hit, and it killed 2 of the Gaunts. Over here, we fell back with the 1 squad and circled up the Broodlord between the bloat drone from here and all of this fire. We were able to bring him down. It took all of that. He did not want to go, but we did finally avenge our Demon Prince. Over here, we were able to tear down the wounded Zoanthrope from each squad. And at that point, the Tyranids are going to go ahead and call it. They're just getting very light on bodies now. We will have after-action reviews and army lists at the blog as always. Be sure to give us a like on Facebook. That's the best way to see our new content as it comes out. And a subscription on YouTube is the most important metric to us. For those of you who have already done that, we appreciate it. Those of you who would, we would appreciate it if you would go over there and give us a subscription. As always, guys, thanks for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.